Today we're talking about the 10 Smite skin concepts that I consider the best in the community. Obviously this is personal taste, but I've also gone over these with some of my Twitch viewers just to get some other opinions, so it's not just my opinion in here. Also, all the artists are linked and credited as far as I was able to find their URLs, their websites and all that stuff down below, and you will always be led to the original threads. There are also some additional artworks that are not in this top 10 in the description down below, so feel free to check that out. With that said, let's jump into my top 10. On number 10 we have Mind Whisperer Hell by Rob Draws. Now I think this is a really cool concept. This is very different from the Hell designs that we have so far. It really brings out the difference between the light and the dark stance, with one being kind of a sorceress and the other one being a full-on Mind Whisperer. The problem with this skin concept compared to the others is that it looks very similar to a skin concept which is already in the game, being the AMC Dark Whisperer skin. So while that is a bit of a downside, I still think that the whole Cthulhu universe could be really cool for Smite, getting some more skins in that regard, and I really think this is a very cool skin. Skin number 9 is Great Depression Cartoon Anubis by 240-185. I hope that's not only his username on Reddit and it's generally the name he uses. Anyways, I think this concept may not be that great design-wise. Like, it's nothing that looks really impressive compared to others, but I really like the idea, and it stands out a little bit in this top 10, simply because it's a very simplistic idea, but it's very well executed. So the whole idea with this concept is putting Anubis into this kind of a Mickey Mouse style and making all his abilities kind of like that as well, like him kind of spitting on his one, Mummify being film stocks that wrap around the enemy, Grasping Hands being these cartoon hands in a pool, and then Death Gaze all of a sudden bringing some color into this otherwise black and white skin. I think that's really cool, I think that's really unique, and I would like to see that in the game as a funny skin. On place number 8 we have Xingtian Saproot Hollow by Oreo Le Sasquatch. What I think is really cool about this design is that it stands out so much from the ones that Xingtian already has. Most of his current designs are focused around his base model. We have the tank engine, which stands out a little bit, but kinda still follows the same kind of scheme with a lot of metal and stuff like that. And this is really the opposite of this. This is like a completely nature-themed skin. It kinda reminds me a bit of these depictions of really any kind of tree warrior, treants in Warcraft or whatever, or even looking back at Lord of the Rings. So I think this is really cool. It really works well with this model, with the axe and the shield as well, and I would really like to see that. And talking about Warcraft 3, we have another skin on place number 7, which is a Guan Yu Forest Guardian. This reminds me a little less of Warcraft 3, but actually of World of Warcraft. It is also from Oreo Le Sasquatch. It is kind of the same theme, I think, at least to some extent, and I think it looks really, really cool. It really works with Guan Yu's model, having this kind of nature tree style for himself, and then this kind of, I don't even know what kind of animal I should call that. It's kind of a goat somewhat, but then also very, very different, and it really looks cool in that combination. I think it would really stand out in the game as well. Place number 6 goes to Samira Neath by Jonathan Kuo. Jonathan Kuo is actually a concept artist or designer for Hi-Res, so it shouldn't be all too surprising that this detail is very modeled. It is actually no longer running underneath in his kind of category, so I guess he kind of had to sort it out because there is a tier 2 for Neath now, which looks different from this. But I think this one would have been much better. It's the only somewhat tier 2 style skin in this list. There's another one that comes later, but that's rather tier 3. And this one really would have worked well as a tier 2. I really like the way these horns are designed, the way that the hair is like put back in a ponytail and much longer and stuff like that. I really think the color scheme works well, and the feathers on the shoulders also look really cool. So overall, I think this is a much better skin concept than the one they went for with the tier 2. May have been because this is a little harder to implement into the game with the current model and stuff like that. Place number 5 goes to a god, a skin for a god that has been requested forever and ever and ever. Chef Vulcan, here drawn by Rob Draws. I think the skin is amazing. I think it's just such a cool, funny concept, and I would just hope to see it in the game one day. I know it's been highly requested by many, many people, and no one really knows why Hi-Res is not doing it. the meatball for his 3 is just what everybody's wishing for, and I think it looks really, really cool here, and I really see no reason not to do it, to be honest. Concept number 4 is Ruler of Spirits by Agramir. What I really like about the skin is how it also follows kind of a different theme from the skins he currently has, going into this kind of stance swap between 2 spirits. One spirit being the wolf for the melee stance, which is kind of following this white theme, and then the raven stance, which is for the bow stance, kind of following this purple theme. I think it's very well designed here with these lighting effects, making them stand out a bit more in the different hoodies that kind of emphasize the style. It is not the most innovative thing out there, especially because there are similar things with Udyr in League of Legends, but I can totally see this being enough of a cool and unique concept to be implemented into the game, and I think it looks really good style-wise. Number 3 goes to Amaterasu Heaven Knight by Rob CV. I think the skin is very simplistic compared to many others here. It's mostly just a golden armor, which is not that different from what she's currently wearing with a blue style. But I really like this inclusion of the wings when she kind of, well, either levels up or uses her ultimate or however you want to implement it into the game. But I think the style of this overall is really, really good. It's really just something that could maybe even go as a different version of a tier 2 skin where her original skin is hardly changed, but implementing the wings as well. I think Amaterasu is a god that really fits the theme of this angelic god-like concept as well. So I really think that she would be fitting for that, and as such, I really, really like this concept. Number 2 is Awilix. It is simply called Awilix as well, by Rev89. I think this concept is just friggin' great. It is a very simplistic concept. It is probably not that far from a tier 2, but still more likely to be a tier 3 because you actually have to change a lot about the model to get all these heavy armor bits onto it. And I think as such, it looks really, really cool. It takes away a bit of that, you know, usual funny style that Awilix has and gives it a bit more of a grim atmosphere, more of a fighter style, and maybe could go with another voice pack in accordance with that. Maybe even the Suku could be a little more armored. It's completely unarmored here, but overall I think this concept is just great, and it would just give another feel to a character while obviously keeping the same playstyle, which I really, really like. Before we get to number 1, here's some honorable mentions that I wanted to show you quickly, because I think they're also really cool and they're really well designed, but didn't quite make the top 10 for me. One of them is Chang'e Space Empress, which is highly leaning onto Star Wars, obviously, by Karulox here. I think this is a really cool design, a really interesting idea. I personally am not too much of a Star Wars fan, so I probably wouldn't have it in my top 10 because of that, but I still think it's very, very good. There are also the Plague Bearers, once again by Aureolus Sasquatch, so he actually has 3 different designs in here. What I really like here is the Erlang Shen one, which has a very unique design, kind of a Dark Souls-ish style. I feel like the Toth one is a little too close to the Zanami one because it has the same mask and stuff like that, but still a really cool concept overall, and I really like going with that design for a bit as well. Then there is also Sol Siren by Stephen Nickel. Also a really cool skin that I like very much for the fact that it goes away so much from the usual theme. With Sol usually being focused around fire, I think it's cool to have a theme with the exact opposite being water. And that brings us to number 1. Number 1 for me is a very new skin concept that Rob CV, who also has been mentioned before, has made relatively recently, if I'm correct about that, and that is Nemesis Winter Hunter. I think this skin looks really, really cool. Now I'm aware that Nemesis has a lot of cool skins already, so I was kind of torn if I should actually put it in place 1, but then again I feel like it looks so cool, it is such a cool design that it really deserves spot 1. I think on one hand obviously the art is really cool here, and that obviously helps making the skin look so impressive and making it look so cool, whereas if somebody had drawn it worse it would maybe not look as cool. But I think the whole concept going with that wolf hoodie and the pelt on the shoulders and the rusty sword and stuff like that, that's something that could easily be implemented into the game regardless of the art style being maybe a little different in the end. There's also cool animations you could do with that. For example, if the ult pops up, you could maybe have a wolf head instead of the sword above them or stuff like that. I think it could really, really be cool. Even the shield could be different. It could be like some kind of ice shield or stuff like that. Just so many options with the skin as well, while looking so cool as the base design already. So that is my number one. And once again, I have linked all the artists and their artwork in the description down below as far as was possible for me. If there's anything I'm missing, feel free to add that and I will put it in there. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know which ones you liked best in the comments down below. If you think there are completely different ones that I'm completely missing out on. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you all tomorrow for the next one. SLOTH, out.